everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm excited to do a requested video. I was asked about the best bronzers in all different formulas. I feel like it's the time of year where people might think about getting a bit more bronzy with their look, and I'm excited to share what my favorites are. I've broken them down into 3 different categories. We're going to talk about liquids, creams, and powders. It's mostly drugstore, but I do have a couple of high-end faves that are coming into a couple of these categories also. So often in the bronzer category, we also start talking about contour and which is which. And I would say in a lot of cases, a bronzer can be used as a contour. The degree of effectiveness, I think, depends on your skin tone. So I think like a medium to tan skin tone could probably dip into a number of different bronzers and find them to be effective as contours for their skin. But a more fair skin tone, if they're thinking, man, I really want to chisel out my cheeks, I am putting on makeup with the goal of really playing into the contours of my face, that more fair skin tone might want to go into something that's cooler, a bit more like a natural shadow on the skin. For example, something has recently come out from ABH. They sent me their contouring sticks, and they have a light shade that is just extremely shadowy and cool. And for a fair skin tone, that's going to make more sense and look more natural to contour the skin than just coming in with a bronzer that could be too warm. For me personally, I find I can contour with a bronzer if it's not too warm, if it's not too orangey looking. It can still very much make sense and work on my skin in my contour zones, as well as my kind of like sunny zone. You know, we think of using a bronzer where the sun naturally hits. Okay, well, it would hit here, it would hit maybe right across the center of the face. But bronzers, like I said, in the right tone for your skin can be highly useful for contouring as well. So you probably see that day in and day out on my channel. I'm maybe using something that's technically classified as a bronzer, but I'm able to sculpt my cheeks with it a little bit. At the same time, those types of tones could be swept across the high points of the face and give you a very convincing bronzy glow. I will say this before I get started. I think if you're watching this video and you're really looking for something that's going to amp up your skin tone as a whole, be applied over broad sections of the face, and just make you look more sunny, like you've had more sun on your skin, I think a powder bronzer is the way to go for that type of goal because it can most easily be diffused on your skin. I'm not saying some of these creams and liquids can't, but the mode of application tends to be more precise with those. Whereas a powder, it's really easy to get a big fluffy brush and kind of go to town all over the face if you want to. Powders will be the last thing I cover in this video, so just keep that in mind. One other thing before I get started here, I would like to mention what's on my face just overall. I'm wearing my Rimmel combo today. It's my Lasting Finish foundation in soft beige and my multitasker concealer in sand. These two are a great long wearing pair. Not that I'm expecting any crazy wild severe weather today, but I kind of am. Anyway, I've got those on. I set with my new Wet n Wild, the soft pink loose powder, which I'm really enjoying. Set under eye and T-zone with that. I'll skip ahead and not mention the bronzer till I get to it because I'm wearing like 3 different bronzers. My blush today is, where did I sit it? Fearless Coral from the L'Oreal Infallible line, and then I top that with Revlon Skin Light Daybreak Glimmer. That's giving me that little bit of glow on the tops of my cheeks. The eye palette I chose to use today, I used Natasha Denona's I Need a Warm palette. I'm kind of trying to rediscover some Natasha Denona because I've got a lot of what she's made and it's very good quality, but I just don't always reach for it real often, but this is a nice one. Nice grouping of warm leaning neutrals. And then on my lips today, it's the e.l.f. Cream Glide in Baddest Beige, topped with the Buxom lip gloss. This would be a lip polish in the shade Serena. It has kind of a bronzy look there in the tube, but goes on, you know, with some sheerness. And my mascara today is the L'Oreal Paradise Big Deal on top and e.l.f. Lash Extender on the bottom. Okay, we're covered. I did line my eyes a little bit lazy liner with L'Oreal Brown Abyss. So now let's start with the liquid category. I've got 2 things that I want to mention here. First off, I think a really good potent yet user-friendly bronzer slash contour in the game is from e.l.f. So their camo line, they actually call it bronzer and contour, and I have the shade light medium. So they have a range and you could pick something cooler, you could pick something deeper, warmer. There are options, but it's one of those doe foot applicator products, and you'll find that like when you put a dot on, and I'm not wearing this one today, but I'll link to a video where I have, the dot looks like a lot. It looks like, man, that's going to be dark, that's going to be work to blend, but really no. I like my Sephora 56 with cream and liquid bronzers, and it blends out, I feel like, with a lot of ease, and this particular light medium shade looks very natural on me. It's just sunny enough to give a little warmth to the skin, but yet not so warm that I can't totally chisel out my cheeks with this color too. I'm big on user friendly. I want to enjoy the makeup process. I always like coming up here, sitting down to do my makeup. It's a part of my morning I look forward to. I get out of bed thinking, yay, I get to do makeup, you know? So I don't like things that cramp that style or make it seem harder or make it seem like a struggle. So you're not going to find me recommending a lot of difficult products to you. I feel this is highly pigmented yet very easy to use. So I like that one from e.l.f. And then another one that's liquid, but this is a little bit different. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Bronzing Serum. So we see a lot of like bronzing drops and more liquefied bronzer types of products. People will wear them as maybe a primer. You could do that here. You could mix this in very easily with a foundation or a moisturizer or something. It is, you know, you can see it dropping there off the dropper. It's liquid, but I actually really enjoy using this on my skin, dot it around and use it in that bronzer contour type of mode. So I used a little bit of that today. If I knew this was the only thing I was putting on, I'd probably use more, but I knew I had a couple other things coming. But I dabbed this on the skin. Nothing blends in easier. I mean, this liquid texture, it does not set quick, so you have time to work with it. Something I like about both of my recommendations here is that they don't leave the skin feeling tacky. They just kind of morph into the texture that your skin has when you get started applying them. But just such an easy blend and a natural look. And I just like the versatility of this product. You know, the e.l.f., while it is that liquid state, it's thicker and it would be, I think, a bit more of a struggle to start blending that into other products. This can be a real chameleon, I feel like, and look good sheared out all over or just in those pinpointed areas. It does a really nice job. So that's one of those things where I got it and I thought, you know, is this just kind of a gimmicky product from Physicians Formula? You know, everybody wants their bronzer drops, but it's really truly been something that I've reached for and continued to want to use over and over. For the cream category, here's where we're getting into talking about sticks, or we might also be referring to products in pans, that thicker, richer, creamy texture in a bronzer. And I know I talked about this a lot in my last video and just put it on in my last video where I was talking all about sticks, but the Physicians Formula Butter Glow and Go. I'm really, really impressed by this formula. I have the tan and berry, and this is a very good shade. When I talk about something, you know, it's being dubbed a bronzer, but yet it's not too warm. It's something that can kind of get into those hollows of my cheeks and still feel like a real natural contour too. I'm really into that. The ease of blending is just phenomenal. I have tried so much in terms of stick products. The blendability here is fantastic, and I love the blush tone too. It's really, really pretty. Swipes on easily, blends out well. Neither have shimmer. They're just creamy, pure pigment colors, and I think this is the best you can do at the drugstore from a stick. And it's sold in a variety of tones. You can get different intensities here, different blush colors there. High-end wise, I've got to give it up to the Rare Beauty stick. This is called their Warm Wishes Cream Bronzer Stick, and I have the shade Good Energy. And this is so easy to blend out. I mean, it's giving that nice rich color. I mean, you're not pressing hard at all in order to get it down on the skin, but that ease of use, that easy blending is so, so nice. And I've worn this a lot. This was one where it was originally featured in a video where I purchased some of your recommendations that I hadn't yet tried. And a lot of you guys were like, Em, you've got to go ahead and try that Rare Beauty stick. And you did not steer me wrong. I've had this for going on a year now, and it's still just as creamy, just as easy to use. The cap really caps well. I appreciate that. But you know, I've spoken highly of the Persona sticks. I still love the Persona sticks. I still love M Cosmetics, but I would have to say, like, this is one of the smoothest, easiest, creamiest things. And what would the difference be between this and your Physicians Formula? I think this just lays down maybe a little bit more in terms of rich pigment and color. It might just be the tone, but I just feel like maybe a little more thickness of actual product is going down on my skin when this crosses it. But this still, I love the pigment here as well. Apply as much as you want. You will not have a hard time blending. And then one other one I want to mention here is in more of that pan format, but Milani Cheek Kiss, these are really nice as well. Talk about having a good range of different colors you can work with for different skin tones, but I like this one called Spicy Season, and I am wearing that today. I like to dab directly into this with my Sephora 56 brush, same brush I used to apply the first thing, and then just dab onto my skin. And as it shears out, you can see how beautifully it blends, how little I'm having to work to make it blend. While it is a highly creamy product, it's not going to leave your skin feeling sticky sticky and tacky. And I think some people may find this a little bit easier, just the way this format leads you to put it on. Some people might find this easier than the sticks. You might think, well, I don't really want to take a stick and just swipe it across my skin. Not that you have to do that with those. You could draw them on your hand first, pick it up off of there. You could brush your brush over the end of the stick and then go to town. You do have options, but this lends itself to being like dipped into with your brush, and then you get that nice sheer light, not too much application with it. I highly recommend a Sephora 56 brush because it really does a great job, great size for all modes of non-powder bronzer. Lastly, I want to talk about my powder recommendations. And as with every category, I could have gone further. I mean, I could have expanded this to talking about like 5 in each category, but then that kind of muddies up the thought of what is really the best, right? So I'm trying to keep it with the best. But like I said at the start of the video, if your intent for your bronzer is to really just amp up your skin tone as a whole, hit broad areas of the skin, make your whole face look a bit more sunny, I think a powder is a really good texture for that, because whereas everything liquid and cream tends to be a bit more targeted when it reaches the skin, the powder can diffuse and carry over larger surface areas a lot more easily. So one that I put on today is my Laura Geller Baked Bronze and Brighten, and this has been a long time favorite. This is the medium tone in this, and you can see it is swirled with absolute rich browns, tans, creams, even a little bit of pink throughout this, and it always does such a beautiful job of giving your skin tone that added bit of richness, but applied in a really sheer way. It just all looks very convincing, very real. It's got great pigment, great staying power. I've had this product in my collection, not this particular one, but I have owned Laura Geller going all the way back to my apartment days. We're talking the start of my YouTube channel. We're talking 2007, 2008-ish. It's now 2025. I'm still loving and talking about this. I've tried tons of things. This still rises to the top, okay? I definitely can vouch for the fact that Laura Geller Baked Bronze and Brighten is great, and so are the Baked Blush and Brighten blushes. Very top-notch quality, high pigment, but you're getting that swirled, multifaceted kind of blend of tones that always just comes off looking so good on my skin. So when I put that all over, yeah, I hit forehead, I got tops of cheeks, I'm going across the nose. With a powder bronzer, I think it's very easy to think more about the high points of the face and easily and lightly touch them with the product. And the brush I was using, by the way, is my Pro Blush 93, this angled brush from Sephora, but I also would often use my BK Beauty 107 for that type of step as well. This just needs to be washed. And then my other powder bronzer that I really, really like, and this is tough, and I might give a couple honorable mentions, but Wet n Wild Color Icon Wet Shady Beaches. This tone, so good for classic bronze, okay? They do make a cooler shade of this that I have called Sunset Striptease. Okay, that's gonna be your cooler, maybe a little more contour friendly. This, I'll stick it in the hollows of my cheeks, sure, but all over, this gives a really nice bronziness. It's highly pigmented and it is matte, and I love this. Wet n Wild's Color Icon powder formula, from their bronzers to their blushes, is definitely something you don't want to overlook. Highly affordable, really nicely pigmented. This would come off on my skin just applied all over. If I were to put this on in the very same manner I did the Laura Geller, this would come off with just a little more warmth. Another one I was tempted to mention was the e.l.f. Primer Infused in Fresh Tan. That's a really good high pigment matte bronzer. The only thing that held me back a little bit was that it is so pigmented. Maybe that kind of cuts into the ease of use a little bit. I'd definitely be mentioning Hard Candy Instant Summer if they still made it. That's a beautiful, smooth bronzer from the drugstore. But for those who have heard what I've said, the way I've described the Laura Geller and the Wet n Wild, and you're thinking, I want my bronzer to be that kind of all over bronzy veil, but I need something lighter, not as intense, I would say look to Rimmel, the natural bronzer. This shade I'm holding up is called Sun Bronze. See how that's just softer, lighter overall, but it's going to give you that veil of bronziness. This would still do bronzing on my skin tone for sure. You know, I'm very comfortable with the Laura Geller and the Wet n Wild, but this is softer and it still is very effective. So had to give a few other options there just because I know everybody's looking for something a little different. But yeah, that wraps up my chat on best bronzers. I hope this was useful for you guys. Let me know if there's another certain element of makeup that you'd like to see featured in great detail here on my channel like this. I could do that. But let me know if you have any questions questions. Like I said, I could have gone further, mentioned even more things, but I did want you to feel like I was giving my tip-top recommendations. So thanks for your time, everyone. I appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.